The Tolkien Road, Episode 133, The Lord of the Rings, Many Partings.
Alright, go ahead. The Tolkien Road, 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 the Tolk
Hey there, fellow travelers. Welcome to the Tolkien Road, a long walk through Middle-earth. On this episode, we continue our journey through The Lord of the Rings with Book 6, Chapter 6, Many Partings. Before we get started, please head on over to iTunes and leave the Tolkien Road a rating and feedback. It's a great way to show your support for the show and takes less than a minute. You can also stop by TolkienRoad.com, learn about previous episodes, and say hey. Follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/TolkienRoad and on Twitter via @TolkienRoad. Thanks for listening and enjoy. Hello everyone, welcome to the Tolkien Road, episode 133, Lord of the Rings, Book 6, Chapter 6, Many Partings. Special thanks to our executive producers, Dr. William Hutton and Justine Lloyd, as well as our other generous patrons. If you'd like to contribute to the Tolkien Road, visit us on Patreon. Greta, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you, John?
Doing well.
Wonderful.
So we are... We're getting to the point where we're inside of home, right?
Yeah.
Inside of the finish line.
Super close.
And
Yet so
as
far.
as is the fellowship this week, and especially the hobbits, right?
Yeah.
So the journey. This chapter covers the return home journey from Minas Tirith through Rohan, all the way back to Rivendell.
Yes, sir.
Good stuff, and good bit of stuff happens in this chapter. Some interesting developments, but a lot of partings, a lot of goodbyes.
Yeah.
So
parting is such sweet sorrow.
Yes, especially in this case, lots of
sweet
sorrow.
A lot of them seem very final.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is increases the sorrow part of the sweet.
Right.
Yeah.
Good point.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's just go ahead and dive in. So. We start off with this little bit. When the days of rejoicing were over at last, the companions thought of returning to their own homes. And Frodo went to the king as he was sitting with the Queen Arwen by the fountain, and she sang a song of Valinor while the tree grew and blossomed. They welcomed Frodo and rose to greet him, and Aragorn said, "I know what you have come to say, Frodo. You wish to return to your own home. Well, dearest friend, the tree grows best in the land of its sires. But for you and all the lands of the West there will ever be a welcome. And though your people have had little fame in the legends of the great, they will now have more renown than any wide realms that are no more." And Frodo basically says, "Yes, but I wish to go to Rivendell first." Right.
Yeah,
So,
he wants to see Bilbo.
So that's the plan. They're gonna go. Back to Rivendell.
Mm-hmm.
Arwen gives him a necklace.
Yeah.
We have a little reference to Luthien in there.
Yeah, I like that.
She says, "For mine is the I shall not go with him now when he departs to the havens. For mine is the choice of Luthien, and as she, so have I chosen both the sweet and the bitter."
So is she talking about choosing mortality over immortality
Exactly.
to be with Aragorn?
Yes.
It's like Luthien chose that so that she could be with Beren.
Beren, that's correct.
Yeah, got it.
That is indeed correct.
Wonderful.
So that's where we start off with this chapter, and I have to point out this funny exchange between Éomer and Gimli.
Yes,
found it pretty humorous.
It was funny.
Do you?
I'll read.
Do you want to read this?
Why don't you just go back and forth?
Okay,
You
well,
be Gimli, and
I'll
I'll
be
be
Gimli.
Éomer, and I'll be Éomer.
Okay.
Okay. Who starts?
Well, why don't you start in 3 days?
Okay. In 3 days, as the king had said, Éomer of Rohan came riding to the city, and with him came an Ered of the fairest knights of the Mark. He was welcomed, and when they sat all at table in Marathon, the great hall of feasts, he beheld the beauty of the ladies that he saw, and was filled with great wonder. And before he went to his rest, he sent for Gimli the dwarf, and he said to him, "Gimli, Gloin's son, have you your axe ready?"
"Nay, lord, but I can speedily fetch it if there be need."
"You shall judge. For there are certain rash words concerning the lady in the golden wood that lies still between us, and now I have seen her with my eyes.
Well, Lord, and what say you now?
Alas, I will not say that she is the fairest lady that lives.
Then I must go for my axe.
But first I will plead this excuse. Had I seen her in other company, I would have said all that you could wish. But now I will put Queen Arwen Evenstar first, and I am ready to do battle on my own part with any who deny me. Shall I call for my sword?
Nay, you are excused for my part, Lord. You have chosen the evening, but my love is given to the morning, and my heart forebodes that soon it will pass away forever. So, it's like a little bit there of, then I must go for my...
Yes.
Go for my axe. It's so like, he just says it in such a matter-of-fact way. Well, exactly. Then I must go for my axe, and I will now end you.
Yep, just another day at the office.
Then you must be ended.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. This cannot be tolerated.
That's right.
This opinion of yours is completely unacceptable.
Yes. Then you must die.
Yeah.
It's nothing personal. You have to die.
You have to die because you don't agree with me.
That's right.
But props to Gimli.
Yeah.
You know, for accepting. I think Eomer's excuse was pretty solid.
Mm-hmm. And he puts it well, right?
Yeah, he does.
You have chosen the evening, and I have chosen the morning.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What do you think Gimli means there, though, when he says, "And my heart forebodes that soon it will pass away forever"? That Galadriel's going to leave to go to the Havens? Is that?
Yeah.
I see. Okay.
That's the foreshadowing there.
Got it. Okay.
So, So after this, we, the next part of the chapter essentially consists in Theoden, carrying Theoden's body back to Rohan for his burial in the Mark. Right?
Yep.
So they bore away King Theoden upon a golden bier and passed through the city in silence. Then they laid the bier upon a great wain with riders of Rohan all about it, and his banner borne before. And Mary, being Theoden's esquire, rode upon the wain and kept the arms of the king. And a large portion of the party goes, and so they have a significantly, this is kind of a long funeral procession. If you think about seeing like the line of cars for a funeral procession, this is a long one. I mean, they're traveling several days' journey for this because they're going all the way back to Edoras from Minas Tirith, and that is, let's see. I mean, it took the riders of Rohan several days to go from there to Minas Tirith, and they were going for war purposes. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, it's something like 300 miles. Wow. 350, somewhere in that neighborhood. Okay. So anyway, that's where they set out. Along the journey, they stop again at the forest of the Druidon, and again, you'll remember this is where they had heard the drums kind of in the hills, and they had met with Gonbaragon, right?
Not to be confused with Gone Baby Gone.
Not to be confused with Gone Baby Gone.
Yeah.
Or Gone Daddy Gone.
Right.
But Gonbaragon and the heralds, as they go by, they stop, and the trumpets are blown, Aragorn's trumpets are blown, and the heralds of Gondor cry out, "Behold, the King Eleasar has come. The forest of Druidon he gives to Gonbaragon and to his folk, to be their own forever, and hereafter let no man enter it without their leave." And then the drums rolled loudly and were silent. So Eleasar, Aragorn, the king, again shows himself quite gracious.
Oh yeah.
And this is obviously very pleasing to the Druidon, right? To the people of Gonbaragon.
Yes.
So they continue their journey. 15 days, in fact. 15 days of journey, the Wain of King passed through the green fields of Rohan and came to Edoras, and there they all rested. The golden hall was arrayed with fair hangings, and it was filled with light, and they were held the highest feast that it had known since the days of its building. So we get a little song in tribute to Theoden. Out of doubt, out of dark, to the day's rising, he rode, singing in the sun, sword unsheathing. Hope he rekindled, and in hope ended. Over death, over dread, over doom lifted. Out of loss, out of life, unto long glory. So a tribute to to Theoden there, and to his arising out of darkness and doubt and gloom,
Right.
like the sun, and carrying the banner of Rohan, leading the forces of Rohan to great glory, right? As they assisted Minas Tirith on the field of battle,
right,
the Pelennor fields. And at this, Merry cries out. Merry stood at the foot of the green mound, and he wept. And when the song was ended, he arose and cried, Theoden King, farewell, as a father you were to me for a little while. Farewell. And I don't think that my reading of it there does good justice to, I think, the emotion Merry is feeling here. I think Merry is pretty torn up.
Yeah, I would assume so.
With this.
Absolutely.
So, Theoden obviously lifted Merry up to a place of, that Merry probably never pictured himself, right?
Yeah.
And you think about how much the hobbits have grown in the course of this journey, which we're approaching about a year since they left the Shire, or since they left. Since Frodo set out from Bag End, we're talking about essentially almost we're getting to the point of a year now. There's actually a little bit before that. It's actually about a year at the end of the chapter, but I mean, they've grown. I mean, if you think about where Merry and Pippin and Sam and Frodo all started, and the things they've gone through, and the honor and they've been given by these various people.
Absolutely, yeah, totally.
Pretty great.
Great. I agree.
So the Theoden's burial continues, and it says he's buried. There's basically the way I understand this is there's like there's like a set of burial mounds on one side of Edoras and another set of burial mounds on the other side. And so I think it says he's the 16th. Is that right? I didn't mark this section, but I remember that.
Well, I thought you said 9, but maybe that's not including the other set.
Yeah.
It said,
Oh, here we go. The Golden Hall was after 3 days. The men of the Mark prepared the funeral of Theoden, and he was laid in a house of stone with his arms and many other fair things that he had possessed. And over him was raised a great mound, covered with green turbs of grass and of white evermind. And now there were 8 mounds on the east side of the Barrow Field.
Oh, 8 mounds. Okay.
And I think there were 8 on the west side.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Before that.
So 16 total.
Yeah. I know I feel like I saw that somewhere in here, but I can't quite find it. Anyway, so they read off the names. It says, and so ended the 9 mounds of the west side, for in that time the line was broken, and after came the mounds of the east side. Freylof, Leofa, Folka, Walda, Folkwine, Fingal, Thingol, and Theoden the latest. So yeah, you're right. There were 9 on one side and then 8 because that line was broken, and then there was a new line of kings, I guess. So, and when Theoden was named, Eomer drained the cup. Then Eowyn bade those that served to fill the cups, and all there assembled rose and drank to the new king, crying, Hail, Eomer, king of the Mark. So Eomer is now the king. He's raised up as the king, and he gives Eowyn's... he approves of the marriage of Eowyn and Faramir.
Right.
And...
I love this exchange between Aragorn and Eowyn.
Good.
Oh, I was just going to say that, just based on our discussion, was it last week, about Eowyn and her feelings for Aragorn and just kind of, all the emotional stuff that entailed with her. Mm-hmm. I feel like she gets closure.
Yeah,
there.
Yeah, definitely. Wish me joy, my liege lord and healer.
Yeah, wish me joy, my liege lord and healer. And Aragorn responds, I have wished thee joy ever since first I saw thee. It heals my heart to see thee now in bliss. And I just love that. It's a very tender, it's so sincere. But it's also just, it's very touching and tender. But it kind of, I feel like, it gives us a bit of insight into Aragorn's feelings for Eowyn. I mean, even though they weren't reciprocated to the same extent that Eowyn's were, he clearly loves her. Almost like a brother or father would love a daughter or a sister. So I was just very touched by this, and I feel like that's exactly what Eowyn needed to hear from him.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good, nice moment.
Yeah.
Definitely. So at this, the feast is over. Those who were to go took leave of King Eomer. Aragorn and his knights and the people of Lorien and of Rivendell made ready to ride, but Faramir and Imrahil remained at Edoras, and Arwen Evenstar remained also, and she said farewell to her brethren. None saw her last meeting with Elrond her father, for they went up into the hills, and there spoke long together, and bitter was their parting that should endure beyond the ends of the world. Pretty bitter parting.
Yeah.
Beyond the ends of the world.
Sad. Yeah.
Eowyn gives to Merry an ancient horn, small but cunningly wrought, of all of fair silver with a baldric of green. And so apparently a baldric is a belt that goes across, that's worn over the shoulder.
Okay.
Right? So that's what a baldric is.
How you carry it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then those who continue on the journey head to Helm's Deep. And while they're there, Legolas and Gimli make a little side trip into the Glittering Caves. Gimli, of course, wanted Legolas to go with him into the Glittering Caves because he had gone with him into Fangorn. Right.
So yeah, he had to uphold his end of the bargain.
Yeah.
Wait, have they already gone through Fangorn?
I'm sorry, they haven't gone through Fangorn. They had talked about
Well, they had talked about it,
the Glittering Caves, and then he had been like, well, you've got to go to Fangorn with me.
Right, yeah, they struck a deal.
Caves. That's right.
Right, yeah. So Legolas is upholding his end of the bargain.
Right.
Yeah, and Gimli will uphold his later.
Right.
Yeah.
So, they're continuing this kind of northwestward journey, and they do eventually come back to Isengard and to Orthanc.
Right.
And Orthanc, the area around Orthanc is quite changed, and this is where they meet up with Treebeard. Mm-hmm. So, long chat with Treebeard. "Welcome to the Treegarth of Orthanc," he said. "I knew that you were coming, but I was at work up the valley. There is much still to be done. But you have not been idle either way in the south and the east, I hear. And all that I hear is good, very good." Then Treebeard praised all their deeds, of which he seemed to have full knowledge, and at last he stopped and looked along at Gandalf. "Well, come now," he said. "You have proved mightiest, and all your labors have gone well. Where now would you be going, and why do you come here?" "To see how your work goes, my friend, and to thank you for your aid in all that has been achieved." So they kind of catch up here with Treebeard, and finally Gandalf says, "How is Saruman?" Right?
I was wondering the same thing, so I'm glad he asked.
Right, and it turns out that Treebeard has seen fit to let him go.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you might be like, "What are you thinking?" But here's how Treebeard defends it. He says, "He is gone. Yes, he is gone 7 days. I let him go. There was little left of him when he crawled out. And as for that worm creature of his, he was like a pale shadow. Now do not tell me, Gandalf, that I promised to keep him safe, for I know it. But things have changed since then. And I kept him until he was safe from doing any more harm. You should know that above all I hate the caging of live things, and I will not keep even such creatures as these caged beyond great need. A snake without fangs may crawl where he will." "You may be right," said Gandalf, "but this snake had still one tooth left, I think. He had the poison of his voice, and I guess that he persuaded you, even you, Treebeard, knowing the soft spot in your heart. Well, he is gone, and there is no more to be said. But the Tower of Orthanc now goes back to the king to whom it belongs, though maybe he will not need it." "That will be seen later," said Aragorn, "but I will give to Ents all this valley to do with as they will, so long as they keep a watch upon Orthanc and see that none enter it without my leave." Basically Treebeard says, "I let him go because I judged that he was no longer capable of doing any harm."
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And I hate the caging of live things, which is understandable.
Sure.
But it is a little questionable about whether he, obviously Gandalf maybe takes issue with about whether he can do any harm left. I mean, we're talking about, and this is interesting to me. Like Treebeard obviously knows a lot about, he's been around a long time, and he knows something of the wizards. Mm-hmm. But it's like he fails to recognize here that we're dealing with a Maya.
Right. Yes.
We're dealing not with some great elf.
Right.
We're dealing with a Maya, a supernatural being here, and a being who was there at the music of the Ainur.
Yeah.
Right. And though he's not one of the greatest of the Ainur, he's one of the greatest of these beings that exist in Middle Earth right now.
Yes.
So to count him out, right? To count him, to basically say he's been TKO'd here, right? Technical knockout, right? Is, I don't know. I just think it's a lapse in judgment. Even though Gandalf doesn't give Treebeard too hard a time, probably because he recognizes that, Treebeard shouldn't have to be the jailer forever.
Right.
I'm surprised Gandalf doesn't give him a little bit more of a hard time, about this and being like, could you have waited until I came back?
Right, and we could have talked about this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think Gandalf says it all, right? I mean, this is, he still has a tooth left, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so, I question Treebeard's judgment here, too. I understand. I feel like it was more of an emotional decision for Treebeard than a logical one.
Right.
Just in that he mentions not wanting to keep live things caged, and maybe he does feel a little bit of pity for Saruman.
I think he does.
He's lost everything.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe this is Treebeard saw this as the one little thing he could do to help him, save some kind of dignity. Plus, it does add a nice twist to the story.
Yeah. Well, it does. That's a that's more of a meta question, but I'm just talking about, and it does add a nice twist, but I'm just talking about Treebeard's decision, whether it's a wise decision.
Right. No, I agree.
And it will be proven perhaps to be a little bit unwise, but yes, one can understand Treebeard's perspective, but should one?
Right. Right.
No,
yeah.
I was doing a little Parks and Rec reference.
Oh, I get it now. Okay. Well done.
Yes.
Yeah. No, good point. Good point.
One can, but should one? All right. So Treebeard maybe made a good decision, maybe not. But anyway, we also in this scene part ways with Legolas and Gimli. So instead of continuing on the journey to Rivendell, they decide to go through. They decide they're going to go off to Fangorn.
Right.
So it says, "Now by Fangorn's leave, I will visit the deep places of the Entwood and see such trees as are nowhere else to be found in Middle-earth. You shall come with me and keep your word, and thus we will journey on together to our own lands in Mirkwood and beyond." To this Gimli agreed, though with no great delight it seemed. "Here then at last comes the ending of the Fellowship of the Ring," said Aragorn. "Yet I hope that ere long you will return to my land with the help that you promised." "We will come if our own Lord allows it," said Gimli. "Well, farewell, my hobbits. You should come safe to your own homes now, and I shall not be kept awake for fear of your peril. We will send word when we may, and some of us may yet meet at times, but I fear that we shall not all be gathered together ever again." So that's the end. That's the end of the Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah.
With,
After many
yeah,
temporary partings.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. This just popped into my head. So what's interesting to me, you have the original Fellowship was 9, right?
Mm-hmm.
The original Fellowship of the Ring was 9,
Mm-hmm.
and you had 9 Nazgul, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who were the chief. They were like the anti-Fellowship of the Ring, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
They were the chief minions of Sauron in charge of getting the ring back to him, or of Sauron getting the ring back to him. I never thought of that as like a parallel before, but it's interesting. I don't know if Tolkien intended the same number of Fellowship as there were Nazgul.
I don't think it's a stretch.
It's an interesting thought.
It is an interesting thought. And there's 9 burial mounds now with Theoden being dead.
Yeah.
9. Interesting choice.
Cats have 9 lives.
Cats do have 9 lives.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something to think about.
9. Yeah.
Yeah. It's 3 cubed as well.
Yeah.
9 is.
Yeah. Just 3 threes.
Right, which is 3 threes.
Yeah. Ferris Bueller was absent from school 9 times in the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
I think we might be onto something here.
Yeah. 9 is obviously a hugely significant number.
Hugely
in
significant.
everything.
Yeah.
If it weren't already established that 42 is the meaning of life, then I might venture to say that it's 9. But we already know that 42 is the meaning of life.
We do?
Yeah.
How do we know that?
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Duh.
Oh, never seen it or read it. Okay.
Yeah.
But 3 is the magic number.
3 is the magic number. Yes, it is.
Which is also a multiple of 42.
And
9. Whoa. We need to stop.
Getting
My
on
mind's
some
about
deep
to
stuff
be
here.
blown. Yes.
All right.
Moving on.
Moving on before we cause the universe to implode. All right. So, Treebeard and Treebeard does have a short conversation with Galadriel as well.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. In fact, Celeborn, Galadriel's husband. It's funny to me. We've been watching The Crown, and I kind of think of because Galadriel gets so much attention as opposed to Celeborn. You know, that I kind of think is like Galadriel is like Queen Elizabeth, and then Celeborn is like Prince Philip.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's like he. I think he is the queen. I think he is the king, but he doesn't get the attention that you think the king would.
He's much more of a minor character.
Yeah.
He handles himself much better than Prince Philip does as well.
Yeah, we won't go there.
We won't go there. As far as the Crown
and by the way, we only know that from the show. We know nothing about
Yeah, I was going to say, we know nothing
reality.
about it.
Yeah.
I was going to say, as far as the Crown portrays it, Celeborn handles his role in the lesser spotlight
Yeah.
pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
All right. But I find it interesting here. So, Treebeard says farewell to each of them in turn, and he bowed 3 times slowly and with great reverence to Celeborn and Galadriel.
Dang.
It is long since we met by stock or by stone. Vanimar, Vanimalian Nostari, he said. It is good that we should meet only thus at the ending, for the world is changing. I feel it in the water, I feel it in the earth, and I smell it in the air. I do not think we shall meet again.
He said it is sad, not good.
Oh, it is sad that we should meet only thus at the ending.
What is that translated that he says there?
I don't know.
I can't believe you didn't look it up.
Vanimar.
Vanimalian? Oh, sorry.
Vanimar. O beautiful ones, parents of beautiful children.
Oh. Should I be surprised that Treebeard knows Quenya?
He might, I don't think so.
Okay.
He's been around a long time, right?
Well, true, yeah.
So, what's interesting here is this: I feel it in the water, I feel it in the earth, and I smell it in the air. I think that those words are actually given to Galadriel in the movie The Fellowship of the Ring, right? In the prologue.
Oh.
Right? You remember in the prologue? She's like the first words you hear in the Lord of the Rings films are Galadriel saying the world has changed, right? So
you're right.
The world has changed.
Yeah.
I feel it in the water. I feel it in the earth. I'm not sure if she says I smell it in the air too, but so interesting that those words are given to her instead of Treebeard.
Instead of Treebeard. Yeah, that is interesting.
Celeborn refers to Treebeard as the eldest. Wonder if he's met Tom Bombadil. Galadriel said, "Not in Middle-earth, nor until the lands that lie under the wave are lifted up again," in terms of meeting again. Then in the willow meads of Tassarenon we may meet in the spring. Farewell. So, yeah, again, they're not expecting to see Treebeard again for a long time.
Yeah.
Until the lands that lie under the wave are lifted up again.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be a long time.
Indeed.
He says goodbye to Merry and Pippin, gives them one more sip of Intraft, and then they part ways with Aragorn here too. So Aragorn is essentially on the edge of the realm of Gondor when it all comes down to it. And even though the Northern Kingdom does belong to him, which he makes clear, he's not planning on making the journey all the way to Rivendell with them. So he's heading back to Minas Tirith. Says, and we have a little bit of discussion about the Palantirs, but Celeborn says to him, "Kinsman, farewell. May your doom be other than mine, and your treasure remain with you to the end." With that they parted, and it was then the time of sunset. And when after a while they turned and looked back, they saw the King of the West sitting upon his horse with his knights about him. And the falling sun shone upon them, and made all their harness to gleam like red gold, and the white mantle of Aragorn was turned to a flame. Then Aragorn took the green stone and held it up, and there came a green fire from his hand. All right, so Aragorn and Arwen have now departed, and now we have still with us the hobbits, Gandalf, Elrond and his company, and Celeborn and Galadriel. So
Yes.
and their company.
Yes.
So they continue journeying. So basically, they're journeying up the west side of the Misty Mountains here. So if you look at your big map in the back, you can kind of think like they've come from, Minas Tirith down here through Edoras, through past Isengard, and now they're coming up this side, right?
Okay. Toward Rivendell.
This little part that says Hithiglir, right, towards Rivendell, kind of the opposite direction the Fellowship went before they came to the Mines of Moria, right?
I see.
So that's where they're journeying right now.
Okay.
And on this journey, it's not long before they overtake Saruman and Grima. So, let's see. Why don't you start reading here? Well, Saruman, where are you going?
Well, Saruman, said Gandalf, where are you going? What is that to you? He answered. Will you still order my goings, and are you not content with my ruin? You know the answers, said Gandalf. No and no. But in any case, the time of my labors now draws to an end. The king has taken on the burden. If you had waited at Orthanc, you would have seen him, and he would have shown you wisdom and mercy. Then all the more reason to have left sooner, said Saruman, for I desire neither of him. Indeed, if you wish for an answer to your first question, I am seeking a way out of his realm. Then once more you are going the wrong way, said Gandalf, and I see no hope in your journey. But will you scorn our help? For we offer it to you. To me, said Saruman. Nay, pray do not smile at me. I prefer your frowns, and as for the lady here, I do not trust her, and she always hated me, and schemed for your part. I do not doubt that she has brought you this way to have the pleasure of gloating over my poverty. Had I been warned of your pursuit, I would have denied you the pleasure. Saruman, said Galadriel, we have other errands and other cares that seem to us more urgent than hunting for you. Say rather that you are overtaken by good fortune. For now you have a last chance. If it be truly the last, I am glad, said Saruman, for I shall be spared the trouble of refusing it again. All my hopes are ruined, but I would not share yours, if you have any. For a moment his eyes kindled. Go, he said. I did not spend long study on these matters for naught. You have doomed yourselves, and you know it, and it will afford me some comfort as I wander to think that you pulled down your own house when you destroyed mine. And now what ship will bear you back across so wide a sea? He mocked. It will be a gray ship and full of ghosts. He laughed, but his voice was cracked and hideous.
What do you think he means there when he says, go, I did not spend long studying these matters for naught. You have doomed yourselves and you know it.
I have no idea. I was going to ask you the same thing.
It was confusing me at first, but as I read it, I think he's speaking directly to Galadriel and to the other elves, because we've already established that the time of the elves is nigh. It's coming to an end, right? And the time of men is coming now,
right? And
so it's almost like Saruman is basically taunting them by saying, you could have ruled with me, right? You could have ruled this land, the land of Middle Earth with me, but you pulled your own house down, right? And now you have to leave. But what ship is going to bear you over the sea, right? It's not really a sure thing, at this point that they're going to be able to return to the Blessed Realm.
Yeah.
So their time has come to an end, and I think he's taunting them with that.
Yeah.
I think that's what these words mean.
Okay, that makes sense.
So, we also, he's pretty nasty to Grima here. And it says, but Wormtongue only shot a glance of his bleared eyes full of terror at Gandalf, and then shuffled quickly past behind Saruman. As the wretched pair passed by the company, they came to the hobbits, and Saruman stopped and stared at them, but they looked at him with pity. So you have come to gloat too, have you, my urchins? You don't care what a beggar lacks, do you? For you have all you want. Food and fine clothes and the best weed for your pipes. "Oh, yes, I know. I know where it comes from. You would not give a pipeful to a beggar, would you?" "I would if I had any," said Frodo. "You can have what I have got left," said Merry, "if you will wait a moment." He got down and searched in the bag at his saddle. Then he handed to Saruman a leather pouch. "Take what there is," he said. "You are welcome to it. It came from the flotsam of Isengard." "Mine, mine, yes, and dearly bought," cried Saruman, clutching at the pouch. "This is only a repayment in token, for you took more. I'll be bound. Still, a beggar must be grateful if a thief returns him even a morsel of his own. Well, it will serve you right when you come if you find things less good in the South Farthing than you would like them. Long may your land be short of leaf." "Thank you," said Merry. "In that case I will have my pouch back, which is not yours and has journeyed far with me. Wrap the weed in a rag of your own." "One thief deserves another," said Saruman, and turned his back on Merry and kicked Wormtongue, and went away towards the wood. "Well, I like that," said Pippin. "Thief indeed. What of our claim for waylaying, wounding, and orc dragging us through? Rohan?" "Ah," said Sam. "And bought," he said. "How, I wonder? And I didn't like the sound of what he said about South Farthing. It's time we got back." "I'm sure it is," said Frodo. "But we can't go any quicker if we are to see Bilbo. I am going to Rivendell first, whatever happens." "Yes, I think you had better do that," said Gandalf. "But alas for Saruman, I fear nothing more can be made of him. He has withered altogether. All the same, I am not sure that Treebeard is right. I fancy he could do some mischief, and still, in a small, mean way." So, Saruman is kind of looking at these hobbits and saying, "Okay, here's the source of my these little what does he refer to them as? He says
urchins.
These little urchins are the source of my downfall, right?"
Yeah.
And they try to show some kindness to him, but at the end, Saruman just doesn't want any, right? Saruman,
No. Very
Saruman's
stubborn.
just full of pride,
Yeah.
right? It's if pride is that only thing that you can possibly have left, when you lose everything, then Saruman wants to hang on to that. Right? Yes. I don't know. It's interesting because they say that the pride is like I'm searching for a normal usage of what pride is, but like this kind of spiritual pride, this stubbornness, this like core refusal to change or to admit one was wrong, right? Mm-hmm. It's like the deadliest sin, right? It's the deadliest sin. It's the thing that says I was wrong, mm-hmm. and I caused a lot of pain, and I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. And we see that as a pattern throughout, right? With Melkor, mm-hmm. there was at least a couple of times I think where he was thrown down, and they thought he had repented, but he was really just harboring this pride. Yeah. He was going to come back and show them, right? Yeah. Same with Sauron, right? So it happened to Sauron a few times. And now we kind of see Saruman with this wounded pride like festering within him, mm-hmm. right? And he just refuses to let go of it.
Yeah,
so
it's really dangerous.
Maybe too great a being to let go of it. Mm. And you think of Gandalf and his humble service, right? Even though he is still a great being, and in his humility and being Gandalf the Grey, he was ultimately exalted, right? Yes. Yep. Saruman, who exalted himself, ultimately falls. Yeah. Right.
Those are the Beatitudes, right?
Yeah. So Saruman full of pride here. Full of pride. Sorry, so they continued into the northern Dunland, where no men now dwelt, though it was a green and pleasant country. September came in with golden days and silver nights, and they rode at ease until they reached the Swanfleet River and found the old ford, east of the falls, where it went down suddenly into the lowlands. Far to the west in a haze lay the meres and eyots, through which it wound its way to the grey flood. There, countless swans housed in a land of reeds. So they passed into Eregion. So here they are now back to, kind of the northern land, which is the general region of, where, let's see here, of where like Minas Tirith, or I'm sorry, not Minas Tirith, where Moria.
Yes, yeah.
Is up in this area. So, they're kind of out of the south and back into the north now. And did I skip over the thing about the Dunlandings, the people of Dunland? Yeah. So just a little note on them, a little back before they saw Saruman. Actually, So there's other men who live in this area,
Right.
Dunland, called the Dunlendings, and they're kind of afraid of the elves, so they keep to their own. Just to make note of that. But as they go further north on the road back to Rivendell, they get near to the gates of Moria, and that's where Galadriel and Celeborn part ways with them, and they
Right.
go over the Red Horn, pass by the Red Horn Gate, and down the Demeril Stair to the Silver Lode into their own country. So hopefully they won't have to go through the mines of Moria to get all the way back to
Lorien.
to Lorien. I assume
Yeah.
they don't. I mean, they're elves. They probably have a special road.
I'm
nobody
sure
else
they
knows
do.
about.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think the reason they couldn't do it before, the Fellowship couldn't do it, was because of Sauron and the kind of the spells he was casting to make it impassable in terms of
yeah.
the in terms of the snow and everything like that.
Right,
So.
right. Yeah, yep.
All right, and they finally come back to Rivendell, and I think they arrive back on the day before Bilbo's birthday.
Yes, they do.
So that's 9/21, September 21st is the day before Bilbo's birthday. Bilbo's birthday is September 22nd.
Right.
And then Frodo left Bag End on September 23rd of the year before. So this is almost exactly a year.
1 year. Yep.
Almost 1 year since they set out. So and then almost 18 years now since Bilbo's birthday party in which he left the Shire for good.
Okay.
So they celebrate Bilbo's birthday, and then they wake up in early October, spend a couple of days in Rivendell, which is just like so I would like to.
Yeah.
I would like to spend time in Rivendell too. Oh, my other recorder there stopped working, so hopefully this one still works.
I hope so.
That's annoying. All right. So they wake up and they find it's starting. They're starting to see frost in the morning, and they're like, "Okay, this means we probably need to get on."
It's going to keep getting colder, and the weather's going to turn less ideal for traveling.
Yeah, they still have a significant journey ahead of them.
Yep.
And Sam says, "Well, Mr. Frodo, we've been far and seen a deal, and yet I don't think we found a better place than this. There's something of everything here, if you understand me. The Shire and the Golden Wood and Gondor and kings' houses and inns and meadows and mountains all mixed. And yet somehow I feel we ought to be going soon. I'm worried about my gaffer, to tell you the truth." "Yes, something of everything, Sam, except the sea," Frodo had answered, and he repeated it now to himself, "except the sea." So that sea longing is now within Frodo, right? There's something calling him to the sea.
Yeah.
By the way, I explore the sea longing a lot in my next book that I'm working on and almost done with. So
awesome.
and it's pretty much a very elvish quality, but
yeah.
it's interesting to see it coming up in with Frodo here. So
It is. Yeah, I found that a bit curious. What do you attribute that to?
Well, there's been this call to the West, I feel like, for Frodo. I mean, since early on, ever since he had the ring. But I think we'll have an opportunity to talk more about why that is later on.
Okay.
Let me just pull out my little reference guide, my Reader's Companion from Wayne Hammond and Christina Skoll here, and see if there's anything about that. If they make any interesting notes about that.
Okay.
Let's see. Yeah. I don't see anything about the sea in here in terms of a reference, but it's interesting. We'll talk about it more when we get to the last chapter.
Okay.
We'll have an opportunity to talk about it more there.
Sounds good. So,
they do say goodbye to Bilbo. Bilbo gives them some things to take with them.
Poor Bilbo. He's so old and tired.
Yeah, he's done with traveling.
He is.
And he even asks about the ring. Frodo says, "I've lost it, Bilbo dear. I got rid of it, This feels like one of those conversations you have with a grandparent, right? When they're getting to that point where their memory is just gone and they're getting frail and everything, and you've explained this to them before.
Yeah.
And Frodo, I think, handles it well.
Yes, he does, absolutely.
Bilbo says, "What a pity. I should have liked to see it again. But no, how silly of me. That's what you went for, wasn't it? To get rid of it. But it's all so confusing, for such a lot of other things seem to have got mixed up with it. Aragorn's affairs, and the White Council, and Gondor, and the horsemen, and Southrons, and Oliphants. Did you really see one, Sam? And caves, and towers, and golden trees, and goodness knows what besides. So, Bilbo doesn't really know what the ring was. Like, all he knows is it was his magic ring.
Right.
You know? But what is good to see is that he's able... his heart has let go of it, right? Yes. And so he's almost healed of the desire for the ring at this point.
Yes. Yeah.
So, okay, so we get another Road Goes Ever On poem here. I think this is the last one, but it may not be. There may be one in the very last chapter. But love the Road Goes Ever On poems, and so why don't you read this one?
The road goes ever on and on, out from the door where it began. Now far ahead the road has gone, let others follow it who can. Let them a journey new begin, but I at last with weary feet will turn towards the lighted inn, my evening rest and sleep to meet.
Now, when in other iterations of this poem, especially earlier on in The Lord of the Rings, the thing that changes. This one's actually, I think, a good bit different from other ones. Mm-hmm. But one thing that always changes, I think, in all of the versions of the poem is, how the feet are described, right? In the 6th line.
Okay. Here
at one point, at one point, it's weary feet, or at one point, it's eager feet.
Okay.
Right?
Yes. Yep.
And here we have weary feet. All right, so we have a couple of versions of it in The Hobbit. It'll be fun to look at those when we get to The Hobbit. We have pursuing you with eager feet in the 5th line, and then weary feet. And I think these are almost exactly the same. The first two in Fellowship it's either eager or weary, and then now we have, but I at last with weary feet will turn towards the lighted inn, my evening rest and sleep to meet. I love the imagery there of the turning towards the lighted inn, right? That Bilbo is coming to the end of his life's journey, and he's ready to just call it a day, right? For the evening rest and the sleep to meet, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the tone of this poem is the road is now for others, right?
Yeah,
not for me
he's
anymore.
hanging up his boots.
That's right.
Well, it's interesting that in this. Just looking at what you have pulled up on the computer here, that Frodo actually uses the word weary to describe feet, and it says when he's on his way to Crick Hollow with Sam and Pippin.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that Frodo uses it first, and now Bilbo is using it.
Right.
I mean, they're same adjective, but for different reasons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it changes the whole tone of the poem. That one
does,
word.
Yeah.
Now, when Frodo changed it to weary, it was because they were being pursued by the Black Riders,
right? Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
When he had said eager, they were just setting out. They were just setting out from the Shire,
right?
Right, and things hadn't gotten too ugly by then. But by the time they're at Crick Hollow, they're realizing that they're in trouble, right? That they're being pursued. So their feet were weary then. So, love the road goes ever on. And so Frodo takes a lot of documents that Bilbo had been working on back and kind of promises to sort through them, diaries and that kind of thing. I was thinking to myself, I don't know if this is true, but it would be interesting if this is, because it says it was translations of a lot of Elvish writings, and so I wonder if these were intended to be writings of, if this is kind of where we got like, because I know at one point Tolkien wanted to give a frame narrative to the Silmarillion that had Bilbo, that basically said it was Bilbo's translations of all these old works, right? Old Elvish works.
Interesting.
So I kind of wonder if that's what he gives him. Let's see. At first published this passage read, collect all my notes and papers and take them with you. And this says, my notes and papers and my diary too, and take them with you. So. Just an interesting thought to me.
Yeah, that is interesting. I didn't know that.
I don't know that it's anywhere made explicit, but it'd be cool if that's what he was carrying, all these Elvish writing, translations of Elvish writings like Ainulindale and these different stories of old. All right. So they set out with Gandalf, and the next day Gandalf and the hobbits took leave of Bilbo in his own room, for it was cold out of doors, and then they said farewell to Elrond and all his household. As Frodo stood upon the threshold, Elrond wished him a fair journey and blessed him, and he said, I think, Frodo, that maybe you will not need to come back unless you come very soon. For about this time of the year, when the leaves are gold before they fall, look for Bilbo in the woods of the Shire. I shall be with him. These words no one else heard, and Frodo kept them to himself. So Elrond basically says, look for us in the Shire, I will be with Bilbo. Right? And that's his word to Frodo.
So Elrond here is promising Frodo that he's going to bring Bilbo to the Shire. Is that correct?
Right.
I see.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
I didn't know if it was some like mystical thing, that if he was foreshadowing Bilbo's death and, you know, kind of saying his ghost would be in the Shire, but this is an actual...
No, he's saying meet us there, right?
Got
We'll
it.
look for us.
Okay.
We'll be
Okay,
there.
good. So that's a happier note to end on.
Yeah. All right. Any other
Good
thoughts
stuff.
on the chapter?
No, that was good. That was real good.
All right. Let's
All right.
do some haiku.
Yes, I think it's time. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 syllables in haiku.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 syllables in haiku.
All right.
Boom. All
Here
right.
we go.
Rock.
Oh, right. Yeah, hold on. Here we go.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
I win.
Oh, I thought you had a grenade because you had your thumb up.
Uh,
No, you're good. Yeah, you got the
Oops.
rock. All right.
okay. Did I win? I'll let you go first.
All right. Ever on goes the road, winding up where it once began.
Oh, nice. Good
Yeah.
stuff. I like it.
Thanks.
Yeah, well done.
What you got?
All right, here's mine. Earthly bonds broken, eternal ones forged. Hope dies not, while love remains.
Booyah.
Yeah,
Very good.
thanks.
Nicely done.
I was kind of proud of that one. I was struggling, and then this just came to me.
Well, then give it another read.
Okay. Earthly bonds broken, eternal ones forged. Hope dies not, while love remains.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Thanks, yo. We
All right.
have a
Yeah.
haiku from Mary Grace.
All right. Mary Grace, what's up?
She says, greetings, I hope you are well. Some notes about this chapter. I thought the exchange in the beginning of the chapter between Éomer and Gimli was quite humorous. Yes,
Yes,
we did
indeed.
too. It was also worth noting, I thought, that Gimli says his heart is given to the morning, meaning Galadriel, while Éomer's is to the evening, Arwen Evenstar. The Virgin Mary is given the title Morning Star, and Galadriel can be compared to the Blessed Virgin in some aspects. Yes.
Right on.
Good point. I thought the parallel between those titles was interesting. Finally, I love the title of this chapter, Many Partings. Back in the Fellowship of the Ring, the chapter that marks Frodo's arrival to Rivendell, and the beginning of the Fellowship is called Many Meetings.
Mm-hmm.
The end of all this adventures in the wide world is called Many Partings. Nice tie-in on Tolkien's part. Yeah, she brings up some really good points there.
Most def.
Well done, Mary Grace. All right, here, she sent us 2 haiku. I'll read the first. Rivendell. It holds a small piece of every place, except the sea.
Nice.
Yeah, that's good. That's real good.
All right. When golden leaves fall, look for Bilbo in the woods, leaving Middle-earth. She says, I really enjoyed the couple of parts in this chapter that hinted at the upcoming departure to the sea, so that's what I wrote about. Have a great day. Awesome.
Yeah, so is that what that's hinting at? That last line? It's
About
Bilbo leaving
yeah.
Middle-earth.
Yeah.
Oh. Elrond escorting him
Right.
across the sea.
You don't remember how it ends, do you?
I don't remember. I'm trying to remember when I first read it. I cannot remember.
It's been a long time for you. I know.
Did I read it?
You read it after, when as the movies were in the theaters, during. So it's been.
So when was that?
I mean, that was like the early 2000s, right? 2001, 2002, 2003.
Okay, so it was before kids. Thought I could maybe blame this on mom fog, but I can't.
No, I don't think so.
That's disappointing. Oh
So
well.
you get to enjoy like it's the new thing, but you've seen the movie, right? You've seen the movies.
I have seen the movies.
Several
Yeah,
times.
I've seen all of them.
But that's cool. You get to enjoy it like
Yeah, I do. Like, I've
it's
never
new.
read it before, so yeah, I'll take it. I won't complain.
Alrighty. Well,
Yeah.
I think that's a wrap.
I think that is a wrap. That was super fun.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yes, thanks, guys.
Special thanks to our executive producers, Dr. William Hutton and Justine Lloyd, as well as our other generous patrons, Shannon Stockbridge, Josh Sosa, Brian Orr, Margaret Lyon, Emilio Perea, Zeke Farmer, Caleb Santana, James Applegate, Caitlin Fascista, Matt Scarance, Al Taylor, Per Brenner, James Lindberg, Chris Loftus, Lawrence McGowan, Richard Wall, and Spencer Foger.
Awesome. You guys are the best.
We appreciate y'all.
Very much.
And we shall talk at you next time when we discuss. So we should be back next week with Book 6, Chapter 7, Homeward Bound.
Homeward Bound.
Mm-hmm.
Not the movie, by the same title, about the dog and the cat.
Home, where my thoughts are shaking.
That's a great song. Is that Simon and Garfunkel? Is that right? It is. It's Simon and Garfunkel. Yeah. That's like one of the few songs I like by them. Yeah. We'll have to, we'll play that one next week.
Home where my thoughts escaping. Home where the music's playing. Home where my love lies waiting silently for me. Yeah, that's one of my favorite Simon and Garfunkel songs.
It's a good one.
Great one.
Real good. All right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll treat you guys to listen to that next week. It'll be more appropriate then. Maybe. You have to tune in to be sure.
Maybe if you're good this week. All right.
Maybe if you send us lots of correspondence.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yes, thank you guys.
We will talk at you next time.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Please remember to check out truemyths.org and tolkienroad.com for show notes and plenty of other Tolkien goodness. Also, if you're enjoying the podcast, please leave the Tolkien Road a rating and feedback on iTunes, and consider supporting us financially via patreon.com/tolkienroad. On our next episode, we'll continue our journey through the Lord of the Rings with Book 6, Chapter 7, Homeward Bound. Please send correspondence to tolkienroadpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and until next time, the road goes ever on.